You're listening to the all-new Rain Man 001 on Rain Man Digital.
Permission granted. Land on Fiber.
Hello, this is Stormtrooper 1. In case you were just way too busy to listen to our last show, this is what you missed.
Why are they starting with episode 7?
Yeah.
I mean, where's
do you
one?
think? Wait, hold on. Do you think there'll be people that do
Oh
that?
yeah, dude.
Oh yeah. Wait. Hold on. Star Wars is a beast of itself. Like everybody has pretty much knows what's going on with Star Wars.
I've met people that have never watched Star Wars.
Yeah,
heard about it,
same
and
here.
they go
You know
and
what?
they're like,
Listen, can we start? We should bring back Hitler and and redesign him so that he doesn't hate Jews, but he hates people who haven't watched Star Wars yet. And we'll start a Gestapo police that just go around shooting people who've never seen Star Wars. How have you not seen Star Wars in 30 plus years?
I mean, even if you've only seen the prequel.
If you haven't seen Star Wars, don't talk to me.
Yeah, you know. So I kind of foresee that. Like, I'm going to see people going, I went and watched it.
Like,
and
listen, I'll start
a
a scourge that this world's never seen before. Okay, people will be out instead of saying, "Hey, you're hating Jews." Yes, they're gonna be like, "You're hating non-Star Wars fans." Yes, because I will find all of them.
we will start the First Order, Mike.
Yes,
that will be us.
Great Mike is Kylo Ren.
Yeah, non-Star Wars fans, come over here to the showers.
It's good.
Non-Star Wars fans only.
Yes.
Just breathe in.
Have you seen
breathe in.
Star Wars? No. Come here. I'm going to skin you like a gungan.
Warning from the Bacta tank contains adult language and discussions. If you're easily offended, do not continue.
We would be honored if you would join us.
How are you feeling? Your latest workups on your condition indicate that all damage has been reversed. Recovery is total. I believe you have been quite fortunate. No further thanks are necessary, Commander, but you are most welcome. It is my function and pleasure as a medical droid to help and heal human beings.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
All right, hello everybody out there. This is Star Wars from the Bacta Tank on Rain Man Digital. That is right, we are back yet for another live show. We did so well on the last show, we decided to keep doing it. Of course, this isn't Thursday. Thursday will be our regular broadcast for the live shows. However, I was out of town on some business pertaining to Rain Man show and Rain Man Digital. So we decided to, hey, listen, why should the Star Wars fans have to suffer through all that nonsense? And let's go ahead and do a live show for today.
Because nothing stops Star Wars.
No, nothing. Not even George Lucas. Oh, man. And of course, I am in studio today with David.
Hello.
Greg.
What's up, everybody?
And of course, Dustin Lucas. Hello.
It is I, Dustin Lucas.
Yes, Dustin Lucas is in the studio as well, somehow, miraculously. I think we have a HoloNet link set up.
Yeah, hologram. Yeah, I was just going to say that.
So, you know what? I think the theme of today's show, I think it's going to be Lando Calrissian. I think will be the focus because there's a lot of news that surfaced, 3-4 days ago pertaining to Lando?
Just 2 or 3 days ago.
Really? Get up on that mic, David. Pretend it's your Tawana-wangas. Get up on that. Tawana-wanga, let go. Yeah, get up on that mic. So yeah, Lando's definitely, I think, the talk of the town this week in terms of Star Wars. But before we get into Lando Calrissian, let's talk first. As of 3 days ago, what's today's date? The 22nd. As of 3 days ago, have you realized that it's been a decade since Revenge of the Sith came out?
Oh my God, where does the time go?
Man.
It seems like, honestly, it doesn't feel like 10 years ago. Does it feel like 10 years ago to you guys?
You know what?
It doesn't.
It doesn't feel like 10 years ago. I mean, it doesn't even feel like we were, the burns are still healing. The Medroid is working well.
You're supposed to be the chosen one.
I saw a comic when that came out where it was after the film came out and the person had watched and they made a comic where it's at that scene where Anakin's, burning and he's trying to climb up. He's trying to climb up the hill and Obi-Wan's up there and it saves saying, like, "You were the chosen one. You were supposed to bring balance." It just has Obi-Wan saying, Anakin, stop! It's futile. This hill gives me plus 20 to defense.
Oh man,
Gotta love it.
that scene is by far. I would say that scene's probably the most brutal scene in Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I felt bad because my son was watching it just like 6 months ago, and he cringed when he saw it. I looked at his face and I kind of felt bad because I think maybe he might have. He's 7. I mean, we didn't have a scene like that when we were kids in Star Wars.
Oh heck yeah! It was probably the most brutal scene in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, his face, it didn't look like he liked it. Plus, he's always been a huge fan of Anakin, so to see him do that and become bad like that, I think already kind of turned him around inside a little bit. So, but yeah, a
Your
decade.
son's gonna turn to the dark side.
So stupid. I hope not. Okay, so a decade since Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now, do you guys remember what you were doing? Let's have a little fun with this. Do you remember? Real quick scenario, David. Who did you see it with, and what did you do special that day?
Wow.
Besides whack it.
Besides whack it in the theater.
Yeah. Oh Jesus!
I was actually.
It popped out like the lightsaber in R2 on Return of the Jedi.
Why is it all red?
Oh, come on. So what did you do?
I actually saw it first day when it came out. I saw it at the midnight screening.
Yeah, I think everybody did, huh? Anybody? I think if we're in the studio, we probably saw it at the midnight.
Yeah,
screening.
I went to the midnight. All 3 of them, I went to the midnight.
Now, was that pre-Fandango and pre-sales of ticket sales?
Yeah.
that's what I don't remember. So you still had to
pre-Fandango.
So you still had to wait in line then for you to buy tickets.
Well, for most theaters, they started letting people in.
No, I'm not talking about buying tickets.
Oh yeah,
Remember
I mean, like they started letting people in, and then you could just walk up to the box office and then go.
Yeah.
in,
Okay,
so.
but dude, I can't remember if I think there was pre-ticket sales for Revenge of the Sith. I think it was Attack of the Clones was the last one where you actually had to wait, 4 days in line, 4 days before the day it came out, and made sure you got the tickets.
Yeah, 4 days if you're a noob.
Yeah, dude. Phantom Menace was a good 6-7 days, and you couldn't even stay in the stupid theater. Wouldn't let anyone stay in the parking lot, so we had to camp out across the street.
Well, dude,
we looked like a bunch of Tusken Raiders.
I had a discussion.
Not my small hometown.
What did you guys do?
They didn't have a midnight showing in my small ass town.
Oh, Jesus.
In Missouri.
Where are you from? Tatooine?
He's from the Outer Rim.
Might as well be.
So, Dave, what were you going to say now?
But I saw it the first night, a midnight showing. I remember that basically I camped. I camped for the first.
Mm-hmm. Did you
days.
guys pack tauntaun sandwiches?
Oh no, dude! Just used basically the public restrooms. It was a mess.
Oh, you packed tauntaun cottage cheese.
Yeah. Tauntaun cottage cheese.
Greg, what did you do? Briefly,
I went to the midnight show with a bunch of friends, and we got there a couple hours early, and they let us in, and we were just sitting there, and I brought a sketchbook, and I drew the entire time.
Yeah. I think I went with my son's mom at the time when we were together, and a couple friends, and also the owner of it was funny. I think about the times and how 10 years ago it was so different in terms of my life. You know who I went with? I went with the douchiest crew ever. I went with my club crew. The crew this is when I was going out to club still, like being a douche with the drinks, with the dry ice drinks and the big old giant oranges inside with the big old straws. We were douches, and I went with the owner of the biggest nightclub in the valley. He was a huge Star Wars fan. He's like, you guys like Star Wars? And nobody wants to talk about it in the douche world. When you're clubbing, trying to be a douche with chicks, nobody wants to talk about it. Like, hey guys, you guys want to go out tomorrow night? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I have some plans. Like, what are you doing, man? We go out every Thursday night. I'm like, no, I have some other plans. Like, what? And I'm like, I'm gonna go see Star Wars, dude. And he's all like, what? That's what I want to do. So all these douchebags who we all didn't want to say what we were gonna go do, all ended up going to the exact same screening on the exact same day. We all had our tickets already, so we ended up going together as one big douche group.
You want to see Star Wars? When you were fake?
No. Oh. So anyways, all right, let's get into this Lando stuff. Star Wars writers hint at a Lando Calrissian's return. Now, it was stated, I'd say 4 or 5 days ago, that Lando was going to miraculously, it was supposed to be a spoiler, was going to actually be in Force Awakens, and then the producers quickly kind of jumped in and were like, you know what? No. They had to they actually, for the first time, confirmed that a rumor was not correct. And they actually jumped in there and said, no, Lando will not be in The Force Awakens. It'll just be the primary 3, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford. However, they do have plans. They said, we cannot even fathom, this is Lawrence Kasdan, we cannot fathom the idea of Lando not showing up either in the next episode or the next one after that. I would have to agree with that. Wouldn't you say Lando Calrissian is still a working actor? He still does stuff. He was just in Star Wars Rebels. Don't you think it's important to definitely bring him into this new trilogy?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's one of the really key figures in all of Star Wars. I mean, if you think about it, since Empire, and then when he's in Return of the Jedi, he plays a really huge role.
Yeah,
in the whole storyline.
He really did. He really does, man.
Yeah. I just want to know. Like, I wonder how they're going to write him. What he's been up to. I mean.
Well, dude,
I just imagine, like, you know, between Rebels and
he's still trying to get up on Princess Leia.
But he's he might have done some advertising, you know, like, hey, this is Lando Calrissian from Cloud City. When I work up a thirst, I pick up a bottle of Imperial 45 malt liquor.
Oh God.
Imperial 45 malt liquor. When you want to be a rebel, but you don't want anybody to know.
Keep it on the down low.
Keep it on the down.
He's so racist.
Down low, brother.
he was a spokesperson for Colt 45 malt liquor.
Hey, listen, you got to know.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying Lucasfilm is like pretty much really racist.
Yeah. Okay, so getting off that for a moment here. I think there's a lot to explore with Lando. I mean, we already know that the trilogy itself is all about Skywalker, and I think, you know, we got some great Harrison Ford moments, some Han Solo moments, but I think the two of them together have so much to explore. We don't really know their politics. We don't really know who they are as people. When you really break it down, yes, they had some great scenes. They were iconic characters, but we don't really know them like we know the Skywalkers at this point. And the Skywalkers have been going on since, you know, Phantom Menace, the episode 1. So we're more invested in the Skywalker storyline, and that's because it's supposed to be. It's the Skywalker storyline. But I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing down the road even a spin-off show. I know there's been talk about doing something with Han Solo in you know, kind of like young Han Solo, not like 15-year-old Han Solo, but like mid-20s, you know, Han Solo. Obviously, they would have to recast, and if they do that, I would love to explore Lando as well. I mean, don't you think him, Han Solo, and Chewie are kind of synonymous? Like they kind of belong together.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. If they do a story about Harrison Ford and or Han Solo, you have to put Lando in it.
You know what they could do? They could do you know, another anthology film where it's kind of how they all first met.
Yeah.
You know, or it's,
they could do something like Scoundrels, the book.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
I've been thinking that the perfect spot that Lando could actually show up is probably the Boba Fett film. If they actually did the Boba Fett film that we discussed last time.
Yeah. You know what? That would be cool.
That would actually be the perfect movie for him to be in.
The concept would be cool. I would actually be okay with him popping up first and not Han Solo.
Yeah.
It would make sense because they're all part of the smuggling, you know, piratey type world anyways. That, you know, they're the underworld. That's what they are. They're pirates and smugglers and bounty hunters. That's the underworld. And I think it would make sense. It wouldn't feel so forced, because I think everybody feels like, hey, if there's a Boba Fett movie, you have to have Han Solo. I disagree with that. I think eventually you would have to connect it. You have to reunite those characters. You have to reunite those characters together. But why rush it? We have all these. I mean, it's not like we're never going to see. Like with the episodes, we were always afraid that was going to be the last. Like, for example, at the end of Revenge of the Sith, we're like, well, this is the last one. And if we didn't see it by the end of Revenge of the Sith, we always felt, I think, as fans, we weren't going to see it.
And we were disappointed.
And we were kind of like, oh, we never got to see that. Oh, well.
Yeah, it was a big letdown.
Yeah, now it's not the case. Now we know that there, at some point, if the fans want it and it fits into what the Lucasfilm Story Group is working on, it doesn't mean if we don't see it in one, we don't have to feel like it's rushed. Because I guarantee you, eventually we will see that. I mean, we will see the iconic, you know, Fett versus Solo. We will. But I think starting out, it'd be nice to introduce Lando into the Fett film. Maybe have him as the secondary in that movie. And really delve into his character.
Exactly. I mean, you got to also remember that Lando was a really important, you know, story-wise and in the mythos, Lando is actually a very important and powerful figure. And in Empire Strikes Back, he did make it seem like he knew who Boba Fett was.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like thinking that seeing him in a Boba Fett film would actually make complete sense. And plus, that type of character, just like what you said, he's that smuggling, piratey type of person, especially since when we saw him in Rebels.
Yeah.
I mean, after seeing that character,
He was so good in Rebels, man.
in Rebels,
Yeah.
Scoundrel.
It goes to show you, like, it doesn't matter if, what type of actor you are. If you're a good actor, you're a good actor. And his voiceover work was so
spot on,
so good. And to imagine going from not really delving truly into the Lando character in decades. I mean, yes, he did it in the Lego movie. He did like a cameo in the Lego movie as Lando, and he's done it in like some of the audio plays. But to really delve into a something that's going to be seen by the masses and not in just a little short cameo, he just jumped into that, and he had that essence. And that's not him. If people think, well, that's just Billy D. Williams. No, Billy D. Williams is a quiet guy. Yes. Quiet individual. I've met him. Quiet guy, very shy.
Really?
Reserved.
He's very reserved.
Yeah, he's very reserved and very classy and polite. And just to see him just jump in, that's a professional right there. When a guy can just jump right back into that role like nothing.
But he even like when you watch him, like if you watch the videos of him doing the voice work on Rebels, you can see how excited he is to be doing that role again. Like you can see how.
Oh yeah. Behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that goes to tell you that if they ever bring him back in, for that part, that it's not going to be like, oh, I got to do Lando again. Shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even when he was at Star Wars Celebration, I noticed that basically everyone was more or less really excited for seeing some of the original cast, but Billy D. Williams really stepped up into the forefront, being that public figure and always doing like the interviews, the open interviews to the fans and stuff like that.
And and people say, well, him and Mark Hamill had no career. Billy D. Williams had
he had a
shining career all the way until the early 90s. All the way to the mid 90s. I mean, he was Harvey Dent in Batman, which was iconic for a while, for a lot of years.
Which was an amazing, and he did it well.
Yeah, he's done a lot. He was a big time. He was definitely a superstar in the 80s and early 90s for sure. But as times change, it's hard to get work. Sometimes you have a younger generation, and we all know Hollywood clings to the younger people. Now, if they did have to recast Lando, okay, I know you guys don't watch the CW necessarily, but because I'm
just
a big
for DC.
Because I'm a big that's true. That's true.
Exactly.
I'm a big Supernatural fan, and I've kind of tend to started watching a lot of the stuff on CW, including of course Flash, which I think is phenomenal, and The Arrow. But there's also another show that people forget about, the Vampire Diaries. Their spinoff, The Originals, it's called, which is actually a pretty good vampire show, way better than the original show that it spun off of, which was Vampire Diaries. There's a dude in The Originals, and you guys pull up that image. I think we talked about it before we went on air.
We did.
Who has his name?
It's Charles Michael Davis.
Charles Michael Davis. Listeners out there, if you're listening, Google that guy, okay, and see what he does. To me, if they had to recast Lando to get a younger version, that guy would be spot on. I mean, he has the suave look. He's got the eyebrows going when he talks to women. I mean, he's got that down pat. Now, are you guys looking at his image?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I'm looking at what he's done.
Agree, disagree. Just based on his photo, David. What do you think?
Honestly, looking at his photo, yeah, I really do see him as a young Billy D. Williams.
I mean, I'm watching the originals, and every time he talks to a chick, I'm like, dude, you're so Lando. That's all I ever say. Constantly, like, this guy is so Lando. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, he would definitely work. He's got that look.
And the mic, dude.
He's got that look, and he, I've seen some of the originals.
Yeah.
A couple episodes, so.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Dustin, what do you think?
Yeah, man, throw that blue suit on with that cape, give him like a little kind of, suave accent. Shit, that dude's got it.
Yeah.
Plus, he has a Filipino mother, so he's got the Sabal backing by far.
God.
Wait, the Charlie, what's his name?
Apparently on his IMDb, he has a African-American father and a Filipino mother.
Oh,
so,
there you go.
Filipino all the way.
He's a very handsome-looking young man. I would like to see his tauntaun.
Oh.
All right, staying true to the Lando thing this week. Also, a comic book series is, I guess, set to launch in July that will specifically focus on Lando.
Yeah.
Now, I hope that's not Lucasfilm's story group's idea of delving into his background, and that's all they're going to do. But you know what? I'm happy with it, especially with what they've been doing. Like, I've been trying to keep up with all the Star Wars comic books. I know you have Star Wars, the actual title, then you have Darth Vader, and those things are interconnected like beautifully. How they're working.
And then you have Princess Leia, which I know you're not a big fan of.
Just the artwork.
It is good.
The artwork kind of is.
I haven't. That's like the one I haven't because I've been busy.
The artwork is shitty, man.
I don't know. I actually like the artwork.
It looks so cheesy. It looks cheesy. Explain it. Sell me on it, David. Sell me on it, because I've heard other people say the same thing, that the Leia artwork is not, the story's good, but the artwork is kind of cheese. The
only reason why I'm a big fan of the artwork is because I'm a big fan of the artist.
Okay, is that his style?
That's their style. They're very famous for drawing female characters, and in the past, they've always been the go-to person to draw very sexy female characters, sexy and strong. Like They've
throwing the strong there. You don't want to be hated on.
They've done like
strong.
All their models.
They're really good at drawing nice toned buns, thick thighs.
It's feminist approved.
You have to call them breasts, okay?
Jesus Christ.
We're all going to.
Well, you know what, David? You know what? Then I'll retract my statement. I'll go back and make myself read them, because I went through all the artwork without reading it like a 2-year-old, and I just couldn't get into the artwork, man. I like the pictures.
And I understand
the pictures, and I just didn't like it.
But honestly, the storyline is actually really good.
Okay, well, I'll try to look past the artwork and get into the storyline itself, because so far, like I said, the Star Wars, what they're doing with Star Wars and the Darth Vader title, I love.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely,
the Darth Vader title is awesome.
It's just great. I mean,
the Vader title, holy shit!
Yeah.
Like when I got to the end of that first issue,
well, it really,
and he's just like, my personal business is done. There's just
and the mic, dude.
I'm literally up on this thing. I don't know where.
You can't move away from it.
Especially since the storyline they're running with, and where they left it off at the last one, where you find out about a secret that the Emperor kept a secret from Darth Vader. And they actually said, yeah, this is part of the canon.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ruin anything, but that last, when you actually see the ending panel, and it's Darth Vader. Darth Vader versus a bunch of other.
What title was it? Which one?
It's Darth Vader.
No, which number?
I believe it's number 6.
Okay, I'm only on number 3 right now.
Yeah, number 6. Actually, the way it ends, it sets up a lot of things about the Force.
Yeah. Well, even the introduction of Fett, a spoiler here, the introduction of Fett in Vader and starting to show their connection.
Yeah.
I love it. And then the fact that another thing, not this isn't a spoiler, but it's more of a preview for those that haven't read them yet. I mean, the fact that you get to see how Palpatine really views Vader, and why he's just treated as a henchman, and what happened between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope, and you kind of see now how the Emperor views him, and that's something that's always kind of like bugged me a bit. Like, I understand that he was this all powerful Jedi, and now he's just kind of a henchman, and now you see reasons what they're writing in between.
Yeah,
it fills in the gaps and really shows how Palpatine kind of treats him like a bitch.
Well, no, on top of that, Lords of the Sith. When you
I haven't read that yet.
I haven't read that yet.
When you get to the book, the thing I love about what they're doing right now with the Darth Vader, when I read the Darth Vader comic book up to right now, it fits perfectly in with the book. Like what you said, Mike, how you wondered why Emperor Palpatine treats Darth Vader the way he does.
Yeah.
It pretty much summarizes that in the book also. That's why I loved the book and the comic book together. Because you do wonder why Emperor Palpatine,
of course,
puts all this power into Darth Vader but treats him like a henchman.
Yeah. It's also probably a Sith move to keep him in check so he doesn't become too big for his britches and slay him. You know what I mean? That's probably another. I mean, that's classic Sith 101.
That's what I was thinking about the whole time.
But
if he gets too big for his britches, his job as a Sith is to kill his master and take his place.
Right.
But the Emperor also sees that basically how powerful Darth Vader can be.
Oh, Annie, you've become so powerful. I've watched you since you were just a youngling. And now your lightsaber has grown.
In my dark room.
Oh, my God, Mike.
All right, so getting back to Lando, he has owned the Millennium Falcon, smuggled goods across the galaxy, made important changes to the spice mines of Kessel, and served as a general of the New Republic. His name is Lando Calrissian, and the life of this charismatic gambler is certainly colorful and eventful. Sadly, the fascinating character has not quite been given the attention he deserves, until now, that is. Charles Soule, is that how you say his name? Or is it Saul?
No, Soul.
Saul. And Alex, hey, listen, in Mexico, we would call it Saul. Saul. Alex, and we'll be teaming up to write and illustrate a Marvel comic book covering the adventures of this lovable rogue becoming the first Lando Calrissian story in the new Star Wars canon. Okay, so this will be the first official story of Lando. I wonder how far they're going to go back.
It'd be interesting if they go back all the way to when he owned the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah,
because one of the biggest questions that everyone wants to know
or see how
does he lose it? How does he lose the Millennium Falcon to Han Solo?
Yeah, that would be definitely a key point in the storyline. I also would say another important thing would be how the Falcon came about.
Yeah,
like did he have it custom built? Obviously, it's a freighter. What's it called? The YT something freighter. It's called. Someone Google that. Obviously, it's a modified freighter, but it would be nice to see him buying it or having it made and modified, especially for him. With the smuggling holds in the beneath. That would be something I think all fans of Lando would really like to see. And of course, Han Solo I think would have to make an appearance sometime. Maybe not in the first one. Leave it about Lando. Don't take away his spotlight. But maybe by issue 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, one of those. Maybe mention him in some vague way.
In passing.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. You know what? You guys discuss Lando a bit more. I got to prep for a break that we're going to go to in a couple minutes here. What are things you guys want to see?
I think what I want to see is, kind of how, we've already talked about how the Millennium Falcon came about, but also too how he became in charge of Cloud City, maybe.
Yeah, how's a smuggler become?
How does he get into that?
Yeah, how does he become a respectable businessman from being a card player and a gambler?
Right.
Maybe he won it in a game of sabacc. Who knows?
Because if you guys remember, what was he doing in Rebels originally? I forgot.
Oh, that's right.
He was just a smuggler,
but he was learning how to do. Remember, he had that animal that could mine naturally. So he was already getting into mining. So he obviously had a want to be a miner, because look what he ends up doing. Cloud City. That's a mining facility. So obviously he had a desire. Okay, you know what? On that note, we do need to go to a quick break. We'll be right back. If you ever miss any part of the show, you can always catch us on Stitcher Smart Radio as well as iTunes. Just search Star Wars From the Bacta Tank, also from thebactatank.com.
Don't go nowhere. More Bacta Tank is coming right up.
Hello, this is Stormtrooper 1. This is just a friendly reminder. Please leave us a review on Stitcher. Go to Stitcher.com and search From the Bacta Tank. Every review left helps us get seen by more people. And we thank you so much. Remember, go to Stitcher.com and search From the Bacta Tank. Thank you.
It's so smiling to see in your side.
Hey, you're not supposed to be in the studio.
Whoops.
See that red light? Yeah, that means I'm live and on the air.
This is very, very bad.
Get out.
No. Allow him. Good day.
Hello, everyone out there. This is Dewback Billy. We've all lost loved ones, but don't let that stop you. Death is not the end. Here at I Have the Power to Save the Ones You Love, we can all get back a dead loved one. Just listen to one of our happy customers.
Well, since high school, I had a crush on Tabby Antilles. But she married Jed Sloan, the varsity pod racing champion. Last year, she died in a shuttle accident. Sloan had given up and buried her remains at the Twin Moisture Evaporator Cemetery here on Tatooine. He never really loved her, not as much as I did and do.
Now, not much of Tabby was left after the shuttle incident, but that's okay. All we need is a leg, an arm, etc. to bring back the one you love.
So one night, I snuck into the cemetery and I unearthed her decomposing body and took them right over to I Have the Power to Save the One You Love.
Thanks to the exclusive deal we set up with Emperor Palpatine, we were able to bring back Tabby. and we can do the same for you. Call now for your free consultation. HoloNet number 777. Save the one you love.
I was so happy. I knew that because I brought Tabby back to life, she'd love me and not Sloane. And boy, was I right.
Oh, yes!
I have the power to save the one you love!
This message is approved by the Galactic Empire.
We did it!
Hello, Rain Man Digital listeners. The new Rain Man Digital app is now available in the Google Play Store. You can now take the entire Rain Man Digital network on the go, anywhere you want to go, on your Android-based device. Whether you want to listen to Supernatural: The Crossroads, The Rain Man Show, Critique Revolve, Weird West Radio, or Star Wars From the Bacta Tank, it doesn't matter. You can take all those shows now on any Android device. So go to the Google Play Store and search Rain Man Digital and download the free app today. The app will also be available very soon for iPhones. So keep checking in.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
You're listening to From the Bacta Tank on Rain Man Digital.
Two trailer park girls go round the outside, round the outside, round the outside.
Guess who's back? Back again. Satan's back.
We're back. Star Wars From the Bacta Tank on Rain Man Digital. You can catch our show on Stitcher every Thursdays. We are doing a special Friday live show, but you can now catch our live Star Wars From the Bacta Tank show every Thursday at 1:15 Pacific Standard Time, and that's 4:15 Eastern. If you're in Central Time, you're fucked. I'm sorry. You're going to have to catch that yourself. Go to timeanddate.com and do the math on your own. I can't keep of all these times. I have people tweeting me, "What? I'm in the UK. What time zone is that?" I'm like, yeah, I think it's 8 hours from Pacific Standard. So do the math on that. So 1:15 afternoon drive if you're in the East Coast.
Yeah. Plus, too, if you have a smartphone, you can easily go to your clock app and add a certain city or from another country, and it'll tell you what time it is there, and you kind of figure out.
Yeah.
What
Oh,
time
hell, that's
difference
too
is.
much work.
Here on Star Wars From the Bacta Tank, we'll teach you how to tell time.
We'll teach you how to tell time, or you're a Gungan.
Yeah. All right. So John Williams says his new Star Wars score will include the original themes.
Thank
I mean,
God.
that was a given, right?
Yeah, that's got to be a given. I mean, you can't. I mean, especially for him, he can't just be like, yeah, the original themes. Yeah, we're gonna do something new. We're gonna jazz it up a bit. Maybe some dubstep. Maybe I'm collaborating with Skrillex on this.
Oh my God, dude. Oh, don't say that.
That'd be so funny.
Horrible.
God.
As soon as I read this headline, I was like, thank God for this, and I was just happy that John Williams actually signed on to do the rest of it, because I didn't want like Hans Zimmer doing it or something.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer douche.
Or who did the Beetlejuice themes? That was
Danny Elfman.
Danny Elfman. Yeah.
I like Danny Elfman, but I mean,
he's awesome.
Listen, he's kind of pigeonholed to certain movies, though. He can't.
Right. He does a very dark-esque theme. That's kind of what he sticks with. Very melodramatic, very like 1930s Frankenstein, Dracula, very dark and sinister.
I mean, if he took over on Star Wars, it would just end up being like, way too dark, and it'd feel like I was watching, Beetlejuice to Star Wars.
Yeah. So, I mean, did you guys all sound kind of surprised now. Did you really think that possibly John Williams might not have used the original scores? Did you guys think that might be something different?
I honestly thought that he was going to probably come up with something new, because I mean, John Williams is the type of person, especially if you read the interview, that he doesn't go back and re-listen to his old work.
Yeah.
He basically wants to come up with something new.
Well, now I just think there's three things that make Star Wars. There's the way it's filmed, the story, and the score.
Yes,
I mean that's what makes it so iconic.
Yeah. Well, I don't think with the way Disney's been handling this, is that they've been really.
They've been good to the fans. They've been good to the fans.
Well, too, just also to the property as well. They haven't sat there and it's like, all right, we got Star Wars. All right, hey, Star Wars and Lucasfilm, why'd you go and bite that pillow? We're gonna go and dry. But no, they
Tauntaun lubrication.
Yeah. Down here at Tauntaun Farms, we use every part of the Tauntaun to make sure that none of it goes to waste.
God, what's with us and Tauntauns all of a sudden?
I don't know, but it's
last like 4 shows.
I think Dewback Billy might need to use them next time in one of his bits. I'm Dewback Billy.
that one bit with Tauntaun cottage cheese just sealed it.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Yeah, I never thought that John Williams would not use it. I know in the other films he's always kind of reimagined them. Like he'll use similar themes, similar styles.
Yeah.
But then it'll bleed over to a new piece. But you always have that underlining Star Wars theme that goes in there.
Well, you always have the especially for the opening, you have the basis, of those. He never changes that.
Yeah.
But, okay. Do you guys think there needs to be a new original song for? No. Hold on. This isn't the Empire anymore. Now the song. The song is titled "The Imperial March."
True.
And yes, we're splitting hairs here, but this is no longer the Empire. This is
the First Order.
The First Order. I think they need their own tune. Would you agree?
I think with the First Order, there needs to be something new.
Yeah.
Because it's when you read.
Well, first off, Imperial March, I kind of get annoyed that it's in Star Wars Rebels. Even though I enjoyed it, I was kind of like.
But it makes sense though, dude, because
it's a Vader song though.
No, but
I always felt it was Vader's song.
I actually on this one I agree with Mike because they've kind of taken that march and going, okay, anytime something evil is going to happen or something with a bad guy, they throw it in. You're like,
yeah.
When you hear it, I only get Vader, and then after a while you're just like, oh. Yeah. Bad guys are about to do shit.
Well, the only reason why it actually makes sense to me for it to be used every now and then is because of the timeline. Because, like, if you think about it, just like what you guys, I understand what you guys said. It's like it's a Vader theme song.
Yeah.
But it's also an Empire. It's the Empire.
You're
theme
right.
Song.
Yeah, you're correct.
And during that time, whenever it's used, it's always during the timeline of the Empire.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that the Imperial March be used during the Empire scenes.
Well, I'm not actually worried about it at all. If John Williams is doing it, he will do a fantastic job of it. So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, well, I agree, but I would like to see something different done for the First Order.
And you know what he did?
Don't put the Imperial March in there unless Vader has a presence. Let's say Luke, or for example, the rumors of Kylo Ren, looking for ancient Sith relics, and it happens that he falls upon Darth Vader's mask or whatever. Then bring in that tune like as an underscore. That would be brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, we're not going to give a shit when we're watching it.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's not like Skrillex and crazy dubstep all over the place, yeah, we're going to love it.
Yeah, we're all just going to kind of, did the vagina erection going, oh my God!
Yeah. Now, John Williams, this is the film composer John Williams has been, this is taken from the Vanity Fair article. Film composer John Williams has been nominated for an astounding 49 Academy Awards, and he's only won 5. Can you guys believe
isn't that weird?
How can this man only have been... he's been nominated 49 times and won 5. That's terrible. I mean, he's considered a loser based on those records. I'm just trying to prove a point. He's not. But I mean, come on.
I know.
The Academy must not like him or something, dude. I mean, that 49...
Just shows, well, that just shows the parody that is the Academy Awards. I mean,
if this was basketball, he would be a loser.
Yeah, everyone in the film industry puts so much stock in the Academy Awards, but I mean, like,
because it matters, David. It matters.
So many people actually, like, great legends haven't won an Academy Award.
Those awards tell me what movies are good to watch.
Yeah.
Me, I'm no think for self.
Now,
poor Leo DiCaprio never won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so
have you? But,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
But have you noticed with people like that? Just touch on real quick on DiCaprio, like people that deserve to win don't win. They show him every year, like when he gets nominated after he loses.
What, DiCaprio?
Yeah.
Well, because people want to get that. They want him to say "fuck off" under his breath or something. Which, you know what? Like, hey, I'll look at the camera when I lost again. I would look at the camera like "fuck off."
Like if you were nominated,
like fuck.
Well, that's what's going to happen is that Star Wars is going to get nominated. Everybody's like, I understand why Star Wars is nominated. I mean, it's just the continuation of the previous 6 films.
Yeah. I love Greg's voice when he does that one.
I'm sorry. So you don't believe that this new installment, which is already looking to be very well done and a gorgeous film, not just already visual effects wise. And Mike, I don't know if you'll agree with me on this. Like already looks to just be
stunning,
a work of art, and I can't fucking wait for it. Yeah, but it's the same. It's just continuing a story. It's not like, it's not like it's an original film. I mean, if they had just started it, maybe, but
That's so dumb.
No,
That's so
mark my
stupid.
words. Mark my words.
Are there people actually saying that?
Not just with Star Wars, but I mean, I've heard people like when the Lord of the Rings
When the
sequels
Lord of
got
the Rings
nominated,
sequels.
they're like, really, it's just a continuation.
That doesn't make any sense. Why?
But you know what? Mark my words. Next year, I mean, obviously all of us in the room, including Das, who's not physically here.
He's on HoloNet.
He's on HoloNet.
HoloNet number 115.
We're gonna love the movie, but when the Academy Award season comes around, and if Star Wars gets nominated for best soundtrack,
I just want, if that happens,
it'll lose.
I want Obi-Wan to pop up, but like, another happy landing. I just wanted to say that.
You know what?
He just pops out of the crowd. Another happy landing.
I just want them to. It's got to be nominated for best visual effects. I mean, if that isn't for that, like whatever it loses to, better be a fucking dynamo of visual effects.
The art community, whether it be the Academy or the Emmys, they don't ever give sci-fi their
that's what I
fair
mean.
shake. Because if they did, Battlestar Galactica would have won every single Emmy for the entire 6 years it was on the air.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Battlestar Galactica is easily one of the best science fiction operas to ever grace television, and they won dick.
Yeah.
We here at the Academy Awards believe that science fiction isn't really a viable medium in film or television.
I mean, science and fiction just don't work. Science is fact and fiction is fiction. The name itself makes no sense.
I sit with myself inside my room with all my awards inside my fireside chair and my smoking jacket, and I laugh at all these science fiction films that come out.
Yes, indubitably.
How
yes,
quaint.
yes.
And even fantasy films. Lord of the Rings too.
Oh my god. All right, so I guess Simon Pegg let it slip. Moron. Like, dude, I love Simon Pegg, man, but he does not give a shit. Like, he blurted out, and I guess he knew it was a mistake because he said, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that," and he shut down. In an interview, I guess someone asked him about. There's a rumor going around that Simon Pegg would make an appearance in Star Wars Force Awakens, and he said no, Daniel Craig is as a stormtrooper. So I don't know if he's being a dick.
I think he's being a dick, honestly.
Yeah, I think he's completely kidding.
I mean, are you sure though? Because he, according to the reports, like he shut down after that and said he was serious. Like probably shouldn't have said that.
But here's the thing, though, is that thinking of this way, like Simon Pegg and J.J. Abrams, they're all these guys have to be friends because they're all nerds. There's no.
Well, also he uses Simon Pegg in almost everything he's done.
Right. So they have to be doing a joke on this, and they have to.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like
Simon Pegg has to. I can just imagine them sitting there because it says he visited Abrams when he was working on
he was
visiting JJ on the set, and I can just imagine they're sort of talking like JJ going, hey, so you've heard all these rumors and all these things are being leaked that that aren't true or whatever. They're just talking about it. And then I wouldn't doubt that Pegg would go, hey, you know what? I got this interview in 2 weeks or whatever, however long the time frame was between him visiting Abrams and him doing this interview, that he goes, let me just say something outlandish, like Daniel Craig's going to be a storm, like
that
Lindsay
Lohan's going to be a stormtrooper.
Just let it slip, and then I'll just go, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that, but I'll play it off like I'm dead serious and it was a real thing.
Yeah,
so doing basically what we said the last couple shows, where just make up rumors so that people can't even spam social media with fake rumors and no one knows which is which.
Because then when you see the movie, you still get that you get that element of surprise because I feel that's
like I feel like this is like an Italian job type maneuver, like how they'll have like, okay guys, so they don't know who we are from the helicopter. We're all going to get in 7 white vans and we're going to drive down the highway. We're all going to split in different directions. They have no idea who to follow. It's almost like that. Just spam everybody. They have no idea which is true.
Well, I mean that's the thing is that I think with Abrams, he wants. To me, Abrams is trying to keep that like giving little tidbits, like little like, hey, here's something that you already recognize that's going to be in the film, but in what capacity?
Yeah.
But he's trying to keep that surprise for the actual film.
Well, let's play with it for a moment, as if it was real. Okay. Now,
okay.
Would that take anybody out of the movie? Because we've always talked about seeing recognizable faces in certain movies and how it's almost if Ben Affleck were to be in Star Wars,
well, not
or
really.
Tom Cruise, because I like both actors, but it kind of, when you see an iconic actor in a certain film like this, like Star Wars, you're kind of taken out for a moment, and it's kind of hard to get into it, because when you think about it, Star Wars has never put anybody of relevance in their movies. They've all become stars way later. Yes, in the 70s and 80s, a lot of those UK actors were big, but not to the mainstream audiences.
But yeah, the way I see this though, hemming out, if it actually is real, remember like what happened with Guardians of the Galaxy and Nathan Fillion. Nathan Fillion was that alien. We couldn't even tell it was him.
Yeah. Well,
that's what I'm thinking.
Different. That's different, though. That's different.
To say that he's cameoing as a stormtrooper, even if we're going with that, it's true. It's not saying like he's gonna be there and he's gonna have a helmet off. He's just gonna be walking around in a TK.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Now, it could be like he's. It could be the fact that he's just one of the troopers. Like in the teaser where it shows the troopers on the transport, like getting ready to go out and do some shit. That he could be one of the troopers and he could just say let's go, and that's his big thing.
I mean, it could also be JJ did it with Tyler Perry. In the original, the first Star Trek film he did. I mean, a lot of people were upset. Oh, he's Tyler Perry. He's going to be, and there's a bunch of racists were screaming that there's
Medea's going to be in Star Wars.
Yeah, Hercules. Like he was going to be doing something stupid like that in Star Trek, and he didn't. So, I mean, Tyler Perry he's a serious actor. Yeah, the movies he does are a bit obnoxious and silly, but I mean, Tyler Perry's also an actor, so he can be put in a movie and be okay. So in what they did with Tyler Perry in Star Trek, if you want to look at it that way, wasn't distracting at all. And he's a very recognizable face. That wasn't distracting. I think it played good. So if they did something like that with Daniel Craig, I would be okay with it. And another thing we've said, if Star Wars decides to open up the lid, or like pull back the curtain of the Stormtroopers a bit and kind of bring them into more of a real life, rather than just, hey, we're soldiers in the background and we shoot a lot and we miss. Instead of doing that, we've talked about it. Are we going to see more pertaining to the Stormtroopers, kind of like what Clone Wars did with the clones, kind of brought more of a human face to them, a little bit of humanity? Are we going to see that in these new movies? Because that's definitely something we never saw in the original trilogy. We never really looked behind the curtain of the Stormtroopers, and I think in that time period it worked.
Yeah.
I felt like keeping them as silent soldiers worked fine. And I would be okay if they did it again. But at some point, we're going to have to realize that this is a real world, and a Stormtrooper's not just going to sit there and just shoot and take orders. Eventually, he's going to question something. Eventually, he's going to have to take his helmet off. And I think that in these new movies, I think this is the time period where we're finally going to see, and I think we need to see as an audience, actually. I think we need to see that these Stormtroopers are in fact not clones, because a lot of normal people, my mother, normal everyday Star Wars watcher, they just watch the movies, she thinks they're clones because of what the prequels did.
Yeah,
most people don't. Not everybody is tapped in like us, like the Uber fans who know that they're not clones.
Yeah,
so I think they're going to have to tackle that.
Well, I think they're going to, but I think you can also be like, so again, going with the assumption that Daniel Craig is going to be a Stormtrooper. That we're going that this
00 TK 21431
TK 1 yeah.
Why aren't you at your post? Because I'm drinking a martini.
I would be disappointed.
I'm drinking a blue milk martini.
Oh my god! With a twist of lemon.
A twist of tauntaun juice. All right. So what were you saying? Who was talking? Dustin?
I was.
Okay.
But with that is that if they have him and he is. He has a little bit more of a role than just a trooper, that he says something that, that's going to open up to where, okay, what are they going to do after this, that one, that we know that, hey, they're not clones, they're actual people. In the past show, David talked about live action TV show starring the troopers. I know a lot of us were like, well, I'd rather see the clone troopers and what they did after Order 66 or, whatever. But if they do something like even a comic where it's about, just stormtroopers in the First Order.
Yeah.
And it kind of could be an in between from Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. What some of these people feel. Again, do another what do these stormtroopers feel like knowing that they're participating?
Yeah, right.
In a more you could say tyrannical.
Yeah.
I would just say, very tough, loving government.
Yeah. Well, again, one thing, the politics and humanity and ethics, I think we're a smarter audience, and it needs to be explored a bit more, because we started seeing that a bit in Star Wars Rebels. And before, even if you start reading the books like A New Dawn, you were at Star Wars New Dawn, you guys with Kanan Jarrus from Rebels, his prequel story, you started realizing in that story that people don't really know what happened. What the general, like many governments do when they take over, another government, they put out, what's that old saying? History is told by the winner.
Yeah,
okay,
history's written by the winner.
History's written by the winner. So, if you read some of these books, these new books that have come out, is particularly Star Wars New Dawn, you find out that most people don't even know what happened. The Jedi that survived don't even know what happened. All they know is that for some reason the Emperor Palpatine or the senator became the emperor, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And
they get hunted down.
And you start hunting down, and you get the idea that not a lot of people believe that story, that the Emperor said the Jedi are taking over. Like, a lot of people don't necessarily believe that idea. As you read New Dawn, you kind of start discovering, like, okay, so the general feeling is people don't necessarily trust the Emperor, and they don't really necessarily believe the Jedi were trying to take control and take power. So when there's questions like that, and you start thinking that way, wouldn't you start having people, and possibly even soldiers, that signed on to the Republic and then kind of bled over into the Empire because that's what the new government was? You got to start, I think, audiences are a lot more intelligent, and I think you're going to have to explore the social, psychology and politics of some of these people, because it would make more sense to a real world that we're in today. Does that make sense? Or
yeah,
that makes perfect sense.
No, it makes sense, because, well, you got to also remember, back in Rebels, what did Tarkin tell everyone that basically what's the worst thing that could happen?
I don't remember. In which one? Rebels?
In Rebels.
Oh, yeah.
Tarkin
for them to lose faith in the Empire.
Lose faith in the Empire, or give them hope.
Right. Yep.
And I think that's what you said, is kind of like delving into that social background of what Star Wars is.
I think it's important. I think it's important for modern audiences.
It's very oppressive. Yeah. It's very oppressive during that timeline.
I think it has to. Again, I don't want the Star Wars. Got to be careful. We don't want to delve into preachy territory with Star Wars. However, you look at movies, and I always go back to this because I think it's brilliant. Is Captain America: Winter Soldier? I always harken back to that movie. But when you have Captain America: Winter Soldier delving into real life politics that's going on today, you start looking at things. I'm like, well, if a comic book movie that's not really looking at as a serious film per se is dealing with real life issues, then I think something like Star Wars may have to do that. Otherwise, it won't feel real at this time period. If you look what George Lucas laid down with the prequel, that's one of the things I always say that I loved about the prequel series is the politics, the political side, the political arena that he created. And the prequel is the genius of the new trilogy.
But remember, it's also a double-edged sword at that point, because it also got too preachy too.
I don't feel like it did, though. I know you said that before,
because a lot of fans have stated that, basically, including myself, that the one thing that in the prequels kind of started getting on your nerves was how preachy it would get.
I can see that. I can see how people can think that for sure.
But just like what you said, though, it comes down to, do we have faith in J.J. Abrams making sure that balance in the movie is actually kept in check?
Yeah.
Because if it gets too preachy, then he's just doing what George Lucas did.
Well,
but if he does like what filmmakers do now, like what you said with Captain America: Winter Soldier, or even like Captain America: Civil War, which is coming out, then Star Wars could be like one of those type of movies that just shatter the barrier of like, this isn't just a genre piece, this is a really damn good film.
Well, I think with, for us as fans, before Disney bought Lucasfilm and all this went down, was that us as Uber fans, we've understood the expanded universe. Like, that universe was us. We there, we kind of understood the politics that they were writing in some of those books, and the comics and everything like that. Now that Disney's kind of taken a lot of that and put it in Legends. That now it's like, okay, here we have a clean slate. Let's rewrite a lot of this. It's going to be things that they're going to have to address. They're going to have to establish, how their political system works, how people live, like how, different, planets and races view each other. Because you have that where, even in Star Wars: The Old Republic, the Revan, book, right? They talk about
it delves in politics a lot.
Well, that especially because you have got the Sith Lord's name that Revan works with.
I don't remember,
but he sits there and he looks down on another Sith, like it's his own race, but he looks down upon him because he's not Force sensitive like he is.
Yeah.
Well, I think
he's one of those few.
Well, and that just comes into other things as well.
Yeah.
Other,
especially with the Sith race itself. Again,
that comes into social classes, and that's the beautiful thing about Star Wars. And I think it has delved in a lot of real life topics. But again, I don't want to lose that because because look this is my only negative thing to say about J.J. Abrams, because I love everything he does, and I really did enjoy both Star Trek movies he did a lot. But as a true, yes, guys, Star Wars fans out there can be Star Trek fans, and I'm one of them. I'm a huge Star Trek fan as well.
Here.
And one thing that I didn't like that he did, and it didn't ruin it for me, but he took away some of the essence of what made Star Trek. And I don't think it's his fault necessarily. That the studios needed to make movies that were going to be watched again. Otherwise, you're never going to do a Star Trek film again, because you can't make movies for a small fan base. Yes, Star Trek fan base is huge, but they're not the type of numbers that you would need to sustain a franchise.
Yeah.
So you have to appeal to the masses and the mainstream audiences. And JJ did what he was told to do, and I think with the tools he was given, he did a great job. I don't want that happening to Star Wars. I don't want us taking some of the essence and the realness of Star Wars from the original trilogy. I thought that dealing pertaining to the politics that it dealt with, I think it's vital again to stick with that. And I just hope that we don't take certain things out because Disney or Lucasfilm at this time deems it unnecessary and
or too much.
Well, just like that article that came out recently with Simon Pegg saying what they told them to do. Star Trek 3 had to be rewritten because the producers were complaining that it was too Star Trek-y.
Which is so hilarious. I remember reading that.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? That's not a good thing. If you're rewriting because it's too Star Trek-y, come on, guys. That scared me when they said that. and I hope, yes, it's a different studio, but I hope we don't see that happening with Star Wars down the road or even the anthology series, because we've all said the anthology series has to be loyal to the Star Wars world. Obviously, it's going to be different, as we saw in just that preview that was released at Star Wars Celebration. The Rogue One teaser. It was very short, but you can immediately see that it was a very different tone. However, at the same time, it very much felt like Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it's going to be... I don't envy these guys working behind the scenes, because they have their work cut out for them. Everything they need to do, and to make sure that Star Wars stays true to Star Wars. Because if you piss off the Star Wars fans, man, this fandom... I love Star Wars, but the fandom is trolly as fuck.
Oh, yeah. They'll turn on you on a dime.
Yeah, so do not get into the bad graces of Star Wars, guys, because once you do, forever the path will dominate you. So, anyways.
So true.
At that point, there will be an awakening, and you will feel it.
Yeah. But we do need to end the show. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. We will be back. Actually, no, we can't have a show next week because we're going to be at the Comic-Con.
Yeah, we will all be there. So
yeah, so there will be no show next week, but we will be back the following week, Thursday at 1:15 Pacific Standard Time, 4:15 Eastern Standard. And thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for listening to Star Wars from the Bacta Tank. And if you ever miss any part of this broadcast, pick us up on Stitcher and iTunes.
May the Force be with you.
Later.
Tauntaun juice.
Hello, this is Stormtrooper 1, and if you've missed any portion of the show, you can always head over to FromTheBactaTank.com and listen to the show at your leisure. We're also on Stitcher, Smart Radio, Stitcher.com, search Bacta, and add us to your favorites. Thank you, and listen responsibly. And may the Force be with you. And long live... Thank you for listening to From the Bacta Tank. And From the Bacta Tank is executive produced by Michael Flores and Dustin Lucas. Hosted by Michael Flores, David Zabal. You can find out more about our show by going to www.fromthebactatank.com. You can also find us on Twitter at FromBactaTank, as well as Facebook, facebook.com/FromTheBactaTank.